Hello and welcome back to the Facts of Facts, the only Facts of Life podcast that's got a real case of senioritis. I don't know about you, but I got 1 foot out the door right
now. I also have a sense of senioritis right now because all I can think about is the fact that I'm getting a vaccination tomorrow. So it's just, I'm like, I can't, what was I supposed to do today? Was I supposed to do something today? Was I supposed to do something today? Oh yeah, I'm supposed to record this podcast. I do.
Because it's just I'm glad that we're high on your priority list.
The thing I've been thinking about for a year is happening tomorrow. Much like
today, the girls are graduating.
Much like a graduation, the thing I've been waiting for a year is happening.
Yeah, if you think about it, Britt, your life's totally about to change.
Yes.
You'll be vaccinated, and you will not be tethered to watching a Facts of Life a week for some time.
Thank God.
I'm going to give you and me a nice long break, and our audience probably a sad long break, but we will be back after we recuperate.
Yes.
Get all our shots, get our jollies out, living that vax life.
Yep, that post-vax life, which is probably which is going to be me being a recluse still. Just saying to people, nope, haven't gotten it yet. I don't know what's going on. I mean, California's been real weird about the rollout. People be like, actually, I haven't heard that. I heard that everyone in the United States is eligible now, Britt. Are you lying? No, not at all. We're all vaccinated out in California.
Vaccinated out.
Then. Yeah.
Well,
anyway.
I, unlike you, will be getting the thickest Sharpie I can find and writing on my chest for the taking off all of my clothes and just wandering the streets of LA.
So, like a lot of people who just wander the streets of LA all the time.
Yes, but naked with an invitation on my chest.
Again, very similar to a lot of people who wander around in Los Angeles.
Yes, I feel like we've narrowed it down a little bit, though.
To your neighborhood, mostly.
To my neighborhood. Yeah, that's true. Well, we're not here to talk about what we're doing on the summer.
True.
For the summer. On the summer?
This summer.
What we're doing this summer. We don't know yet. We just know it's not going to be watching season 4 of The Facts of Life. We will no longer be tethered to the cafeteria. We are free to roam. We can go take a drama camp, hike to Hollywood.
Yeah.
We can do anything we want. And I'm excited about it. But first, we got to get them diplomas.
We sure do.
All right. So we got season 4 finale, Graduation, directed by Azad Khalada, and written part 1 by Kimberly Hill and part 2 by Linda Marsh and Margie Peters.
Okay. Can I just pause you right there?
You're always allowed to pause me.
This was ludicrous. I was excited for this because if there is one thing that any sitcom can do, it's fart out a graduation episode because they're almost unfuck-upable. They're so easy. You just need to have a little bit of drama and tension at the beginning, and then everyone is a little upset in the middle part, and then you put on the cap and gowns, you put on pomp and circumstance, you get tears, and then you throw the caps in the air, and then excitement for what's in store for the future. Did we get any of that? No. We got them wearing their robes around. We got them looking at diplomas at one moment, mostly Tootie, who was using it as a prop. We had irrelevant people in this episode.
So many.
For no reason. And again, two-parter, this was odd because it was like it was both flabby and thin. It was like someone who's had like gastric surgery where they're now a slender person that had just a lot of extra stuff on them that they're going to need to have extra surgeries to get rid of, much like Roy. You know, did we need Roy? Did we need Blair's mom? Did we need Joe's family? No.
I think Roy was the highlight of the episode for me. But he always is. I mean, his outfit in part 2, spectacular.
That whole outfit went
I'm a Roy stan, man.
I know you are. Even though he is, at this point, clearly some sort of sexual abuser, a serial sexual abuser. Like, we see it on camera. And Joe confirms it. She was like, we're not going to talk about that. We don't laugh about that, girls. And everyone's like, no, we're going to laugh about it.
They sure did.
That was hilarious when he assaulted you. Can we talk about that more, actually?
We will. But let's open where we mostly stay for this hour-long event, in the cafeteria. And I did check the next episode, and it does not open in the cafeteria. So this is which is the only episode that will have the cafeteria again. So I can say this is the last time we open in the cafeteria.
Celebration, I'm so excited.
Okay. Natalie starts us off by complimenting herself. She's accounted for all the graduation tickets, and she feels she deserves some accolades for that.
Yeah. Man, I'm good. I literally wrote down all of the punchlines that the audience treated as a joke. And I just wrote down, man, I'm good. Not a joke. I wrote this down further down on the page. Not a joke. Oh, that's also not a joke at all. And yet the audience was coached, or there was just a little tiny, recording of clapter that was in the audience.
Well, at this point, this is a hot show. We're a season 4 finale, hot ticket. The people who are there are just giddy to be in the presence of Azad Kalata.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hardcore factsies in the audience. You can tell because they are laughing at everything. Nat asks Tootie what time it is because it's the countdown to graduation. She can only tell her it's T-minus 26 hours.
Yeah.
The girls are far more excited for Joe and Blair's special day than they will be for their own. Just spoiler alert.
Okay. Well, I mean, at least at this point, I understand why, because this entire thing was traumatic for everyone involved.
It's true, especially you. Nat accuses Tootie of creating undue pressure, but Tootie points out that she's in charge of all the diplomas. Are there any adults that work at this school? Why are Natoots in charge of tickets and diplomas? They're not seniors. They're not known for that. Like, one's an actor, one's a journalist. Oh, so obviously they're going to be tickets and diplomas. The grown-ups should do this.
School administrators. Mrs. Garrett could do this. What is Mr. Parker's role in this school? We don't even see him during the graduation episode.
Leader. Anyway, so weird. So Tootie waxes poetic about how she's the bridge to Joe and Blair's future. They'll be sailing out of the sheltered harbors of Eastland and into the sea of life.
Yeah. And
this is why we don't let kids be in charge of diplomas.
Well, this is also why we don't let these writers write things. So, because, but here's the thing is that, this is why this episode is so ludicrous, is that you literally need to follow a basic format, which is we need to get to the graduation and we need to see it happen. Right?
No,
we don't see any of that.
We're never going to see it happen. It's the facts of life, and they don't show us the thing.
They don't show us.
That's the whole thing.
That's the fact of life.
An hour of graduation, and you get up to the door, and then you flash forward to the girl's bedroom. That's how it works. Why would you want to see something like that?
Why would you? Well, because it's the cum shot.
Yes, but this is a kids show, so we're only gonna show everything leading up to the penetration.
Yeah. But
I as I said penetration, I drooled and spit. That's how hard up I am, guys.
But again, as I was saying, it's just don't fuck with the formula. There's so many good episodes of TV that rely on graduation. obviously Donna Martin graduates from 90210, right? There's a great Gilmore Girls episode of Graduation where Rory is the valedictorian, right? There's a good one with Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's like
and I would put this one right alongside those. I just have fond memories of it. I will say it's not good.
But this is like having a wedding or a birth episode and you don't show the wedding or the kid.
Who wants to see the kid? And there will be plenty of weddings where you don't see the wedding on Facts of Life. Just you wait.
Do those take place in the cafeteria too? I don't understand this.
Nothing else happens in the cafeteria. One more thing happens in the cafeteria, and then that's it. So Blair enters, looking really interesting today. What did you think of this outfit? I'm normally not on outfit patrol, but I will say this gray polka dotted poofy sleeved full length dress with like black leather boots it was a look.
She looked great.
I mean, I definitely feel like it was like a tasteful, like if she was on the cover of an 80s album in that, I'd be like, mysterious. I need to know more.
Yeah, because why? What happened 2 weeks ago? She got rid of her kid clothes. She got her entire new wardrobe for college.
That's right.
This is adult Blair. This is Blair who takes it in the rump. Like she's ready to party.
Is that the sign of being an adult?
I mean,
when you're a kid, you just
no
take it in the book.
means
But when
yes,
you're an adult,
yes. No means yes, and yes means anal once you get to college. So yes.
Wish we were friends in college. So Blair also has her friend Emily in tow.
Yeah. Oh, we have to talk a lot about Emily, but we're gonna get to her later.
Well, Emily's great. If you recall, Emily didn't get into her college of choice and appears to be sailing out of the sheltered harbors of Eastland all the way to the University of Anchorage.
Yes.
She looks like a puffy, insecure Martha Plimpton.
And I think she does. And the hair is particularly problematic because it's very short, very blonde, very curly, like it's been like severely permed. And then pulled into tiny little girl pigtails at the top of her head. And then the rest of it is out, but it's so short that it makes her look like Precious from the Silence of the Lambs, the little white dog.
Not the Precious I was initially thinking. So she's played by Laura Summer. We're not going to give her bio again, but I'm a fan. Blair is certain that her 8-day skincare regimen will ensure that she's beautiful by tomorrow.
Yes, I mean,
and
to be
Emma's
honest,
really excited about this.
Well, to be honest, like here's the thing: is that Blair is looking so foxy in this episode and she is basically the graduation looks queen, right? She's helping Emily with her skin regime. She's helping Lisa, I guess, is the other one, right? With her shoe problem, because that's too hard for her to understand. Which shoes go with what.
It felt like she was like starting a business.
It did. It felt like she was looking for seed capital.
Anyway, so Natalie comes in and it's revealed that Emily's grandparents are both coming into town. And so Emily needs one extra ticket. And Natalie's like, absolutely not. Go fuck yourself. And with this piece of information, we now know more about Emily than we do Nancy.
Yes.
Lost Girls callback. Yes.
And also we know a very unusual, weird fact about Eastland is that they allocate such an unusual number of tickets for graduates' families that there's three. They assume it's, parents and their plus one. So, no grandparents, or if a grandparent wants to come, they have to battle it out. Like you can't have everyone. When I went to my high school graduation, it was like, 4 rows of my family came. And that was not because I asked them to. they just wanted to. It was like an excuse for everyone to come to New York and like hang out. And I was like, really? Okay, yeah, thanks for coming. But it was like you just have more chairs. Like you can't deny
This is
grandparents.
Eastland. It's very, very limited seating.
But it's like in the gymnasium. I don't understand. How small is that gym?
It's basically when you open it up, it's actually the cafeteria.
But again, so then if it is the cafeteria, then why didn't they just use the cafeteria as the graduation set?
Because then there would be no excuse for why we weren't seeing it.
I know.
Anyway, Emily groans in a way only a voice actress can.
Yes, yes, and she's because Blair, Natalie delivers the terrible news that her grandparents have to either battle it out for a +1 or whatever, and Emily goes, "What?" As though this might kill her grandparents delivering this information, right?
It might. We don't know. They're a very weird family, the Emilys.
And again, like Natalie kind of lords this over everyone, being like, "That's the policy. Fuck you. You should have known. Have another stay for another year and hang out and have another graduation. Invite your other set of grandparents." It was so weird and mean. And
Natalie will get her comeuppance because her father will die before she gets a chance to graduate. So those 3 tickets may not all get used. It depends on if both her grandparents are alive, which is unclear. I know she's got at least one grandmother that's very alive. I don't think she has a grandpa. I don't know. So Mrs. G and Joe burst in. Joe is practicing her valedictorian speech, and Mrs. G is trying to pretend that her grocery bags have actual groceries in it. All we see is a peek at a Honey Nut Cheerios box, which I researched this.
Yeah.
And Honey Nut Cheerios art has barely changed at all in the past 40 years. Like, of all the cereal things that could go retro, that damn B is still on there. The color is the same. It's a very similar.
Oh, that's good to know. I like Honey Nut Cheerios.
Yeah, it's tasty. I haven't had it in a while. There's no nut in it.
I didn't know that.
You have to supply your own nut if you really want Honey Nut Cheerio.
And some moo juice.
Well, of course, you always have to supply moo juice with the cereal.
And some nut milk. Anyway, so here's my question. Again, it appears as though there are no school administrators that work at Eastland. Because
that is correct.
I'm confused as to what Mrs. Garrett is doing buying 2 bags of random groceries when she's panicking about having to do the entire graduation herself. Do they not have some sort of school supplier like Cisco that supplies food?
Roy, he brings the pineapples
to schools and prisons? I don't understand this. What is Mrs. Garrett going out buying, 1 apple and 1 thing of yogurt and then being like, "Oh shit, I guess I should have bought, enough for the rest of the school."
I don't understand what her groceries are. The argument could almost be, these are mostly my personal groceries. This is my box of cereal.
But then she can't be panicking about the fact that she needs to do all this other extra work because she shouldn't be out buying her personal groceries.
You are correct. You are absolutely correct. So Joe is practicing the speech because, as we learned earlier, her mom is so psyched about her attendance to college that she's gone a little overboard. But this time, it's not an old people doorknob party. She's actually requested that news of the valedictorian status be printed on the napkins at the cocktail bar she works at.
I thought it was this speech itself.
What she was saying?
No, that Joe was freaking out, being like, "Yeah, my mom's so excited. She told the whole neighborhood. And she even asked the boss at the cocktail lounge to have my valedictorian speech printed on the cocktail napkins."
Oh, as the speech. Okay, I interpreted it as being like a picture of Joe and being like, valedictorian.
Because I thought, if it's the speech, this is the shortest speech ever, and everyone should just, like, Joe needs to just calm down about being freaked out about this, because if you can fit it on a napkin,
Cocktail napkin.
But I also enjoyed the fact that while she was talking to Mrs. Garrett about, while she was like, brainstorming her big messaging for her big inspirational valedictorian speech, she goes with the metaphor of the gym locker of life.
Yes, she sure does.
Says, that's the thing about life experiences. You need to put a lot of experience in the gym locker of life. What the hell? What the hell is that?
This speech is terrible. We hear a little bit more of it at some point, and she uses the word experience like twice in one sentence. It's terrible. Joe complains her dad's coming up. She's under a lot of pressure. That sets Mrs. G off. She seems pressure is having to make 15 Jell-O molds with fruit.
Again, the audience goes nuts, and I wrote down, not a joke.
Yeah, I don't even feel like with fruit packed any punch. Like, how does that make it worse? If anything, that means like you've got more Jell-O because you already have this fruit. Just plop it in there, fills it up quicker.
One would think.
And also, like 15 Jell-O molds doesn't seem that hard as long as you've got the fridge space. And also, why are you serving 15 Jell-O molds? Gross.
Yeah, it's so many. One is like too many.
Yeah, but like I could understand being like 3 for a big event, maybe.
But again, the thing is that as I said, my husband was out of the house today because he was at the drugstore, and he texted me saying, "Oh, are you watching The Facts of Life right now?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And he said, "I'm waiting for my shot." And he said, "So what's going on in the episode?" And I said, "Ugh, Mrs. Garrett just was screaming about Jell-O molds." And he texted me back saying, "That sounds like something Mrs. Garrett would scream about." And like, I was like, that's correct. But it also, like, the only reason why you should scream about Jell-O molds is who the fuck brought all these goddamn Jell-O molds to my fucking house?
Or if like one becomes sentient and tries to attack you.
That's another one. Then scream at that.
Yes. Apparently, Mr. Parker left the entirety of the graduation up to Mrs. Garrett, Tootie, and Natalie. The food, the ceremony, the reception, the tickets, and the diplomas. What is going on at this school?
Exactly. What is happening? It's good that they don't go there anymore.
Yeah, it is. It is. Tootie piles on and tells Mrs. Garrett to move on. And Joe needs to try out some of her Kansas, Nebraska act material on Mrs. Garrett for her speech. Mrs. Garrett just walks away and sighs.
Well, so again, and you were speculating that this two-parter was written before the episode we watched last week, which was the Take My Finals Please, right?
Yes.
You were thinking that was shot last because that's why they needed to keep the girls in their bedroom because they'd already demolished the set. And so it was like, we just need to keep you in here. So this is where I was like, I thought that the continuity made sense for that to be the last thing written, because Joe is going back on what she said in that episode, where in that episode she's sort of basically saying to Tootie, like, Tootie, you need to learn things because that's what an education is. You're not here just to learn facts. You're here to learn about how to learn and how to engage with the world. And now in this one, Joe's like, you know what? Here's the thing. Why do we learn anything? Facts are stupid. Why would I even need to know why anyone would even need to know what the Kansas and Nebraska Act is? How would that get me a job? And Mrs. Garrett's like, I can't, don't look at me.
That is what she's like. Would you like to talk about the Kansas-Nebraska Act?
Sure. It's a very important act that was a precursor to the Civil War.
Yes. There was a vote to decide if Kansas would allow slavery, and people snuck into Kansas and voted for slavery. This is the original voter fraud.
Well, it was because...
Seems important for Joe to know about, not dismiss.
Exactly. No, but also, and again, it's like, yeah, you should know the history of this country. You know, it's like, that's just the Civil War. But again, it divided Kansas and Missouri into two territories. And so they meant then it was this, I have it down here. It was an act where basically the two territories could then vote whether they wanted to have slavery or not. And so the pro-slavery people in the South kept creeping over to, I think, to Kansas to prevent them from not to like abolishing slavery. And then, but the abolitionists were creeping into Missouri to be like, you shouldn't have slavery. And they were like, fuck you. And so it was a very important thing. And so it's oddly dismissive, but also weirdly specific.
It is.
Someone did their research about something that they themselves probably thought was irrelevant.
True, but it was not. The opposite of relevant, speaking of irrelevant, is Princess Alexandria.
Yep.
Who, despite being surrounded by Jell-O molds in the kitchen, has a comedic amount of flour on her face, like an 80s. Remember that 80s commercial? I tried to look this up. I could not remember it. It was for something that I liked eating. That was like pre-made biscuits or something. And the woman would be in the kitchen and pop them in the oven, and then she would take some flour and splash it on her face, and then she would go to the fish tank and she would splash a little bit of water on her face, and then she'd be like, they're in the oven, honey, or something like that. And whatever it was like, they're good without all the effort. I could not remember for the life of me what that commercial is. So any facts of Lovely's, because I know you're not going to know, Britt.
I feel like I do know.
Oh, what is it?
I think it's the Pillsbury Doughboy one where you can pop the can.
That's what I thought, and that was what I looked it up for, and I couldn't find it. So maybe that's right. And
but
I just couldn't.
I also have a sense memory of that where she's like, boop, boop. I love lying to my husband to keep him happy.
Anyway, that's what Alexandria looks like in this scene.
She's stirring like a witch's pot of brown liquid. And
yes, apparently it's cupcake batter.
Yeah.
She's never been in a kitchen before, however, except for the one time she took a wrong turn in the castle. It's going to be good to see her go.
That's the thing. I kept being, as soon as she says anything in this episode, I was like, why were they trying to make this happen?
Yeah. She's like, as a princess, everything that she said started that way. Yeah. So she announces she's done with the cupcakes, but they're a little runny. Mrs. Garrett suggests that maybe she bake them first, but then Mrs. Garrett sends her off to go get baguette fucked by Roy.
Yeah, because she was like, listen, you're going to fuck this up, putting this shit into little cups and putting it into the oven. Cupcakes are one of the simplest things to make in the world. And Mrs. Garrett was like, you can't handle that. So please just go to the other room through that door that's right there. There's a man over there. He's got loaves of bread. You can identify him because he's holding loaves of bread. Can you go retrieve them from that man and bring them here? And Alexandria is like, I don't know, but I'll try.
I will say this. I wrote this later on in my notes, but it wasn't until Mrs. Garrett was like, I fucking hate Alexandria, that I was like, Alexandria's working now. Now, yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree that once she became this giant thorn in Mrs. Garrett's side, where
great.
Mrs. Garrett was like, now I've devised a number of different ways to torture this little teenage girl for actually volunteering to help me.
Yeah, she's a princess. She doesn't have to do that. None of these girls have to do that, but they're all doing it.
Now I'm actually devising ways to make her suffer.
Yes, in fact, that's all what she does with Joe. When Joe wants to do her speech to Mrs. Garrett's like, why don't you shout it at Alexandria? She doesn't know what words mean, so maybe that'll be good.
She's got fresh ears. And Joe's like, that's right. That's a good idea. Also, you know what? Pretty sure all that gym locker talk, that's going to go down real well with McPrincey Pants over here. It's like so dumb.
So we're back in the cafeteria, and finally, yay! My beloved Roy has arrived. He seems to have brought exactly 4 loaves of bread for this event. 4 loaves of bread, 15 Jell-O molds. I don't understand what this party is.
So, and then later there's a snafu where Mrs. Garrett needed apples for her pies, and they bring her 100 pineapples. And then also, I'm sort of like, why does Mrs. Garrett need to make that many apple pies?
There's
What?
already 15 Jell-O molds. Why is everything dessert?
Who's running this show? Mrs. Garrett is. She can create the menu. I don't understand. Mrs. Garrett
Why
is
not potato?
potato. And what was it? Whole banana.
And also, if we recall, there are times when there's not a big event and Roy brings 6,000% more bread.
Yeah, and the other thing is that he brings in what basically look like the props people were like, oh shit,
we forgot the bread.
We forgot that this is an actual bakery. Fuck. Can someone just go to like the Ralphs or the Vons or the Albertsons, whatever, and just get like the biggest loaves of cut bread you have? They're Wonder Bread, basically.
4 loaves of sliced bread, 15 Jell-O molds. So he calls Joe his little cucumber, and she chastises him. Don't call me vegetables, Roy, which is definitely the first laugh of the episode.
Yeah, because it's super stupid.
Yeah, I liked it. Roy calls her his little waif, asks if she missed him. He's been away while they've been retooling his jacket. And then ensures her that this is not the end. He will always be there to harass her for many moons.
Well, yeah. So then I literally wrote down, like, he flirts with her, right? By basically, as you said, her like promising to harass her for the rest of her goddamn life.
Yes.
He's like, you will never escape me.
He promises to stalk her all the way to Langley.
I know.
How does this guy even know what college she's going to?
Oh.
He's been away. That's concerning.
I don't know. Maybe someone told him. Who knows? Anyway, but she's like, great. Maybe we can end this now. And he's like, no. I'll get a 10 speed. And then she's like, well, I'll get a transfer. And then he says, let me take you away from here now. I've got the bread for it. And then laughs at his own joke.
It was like this impossible cackle that you could only do if you had all the cocaine. Like, I tried in my bed. I was like, could I do this laugh? And I was physically incapable of it.
It was shocking. It was really to be perfectly honest, also that this was a fact of life that I do think that all people should learn, is that a man or a person, whoever, who is sexually harassing you constantly will probably make a very terrible dad joke to your face and then laugh and spit in your face and your mouth. And that's just a fact of life.
Amen. You know who liked the bread joke?
You?
No, Alex.
Yes, she sure did.
Not me.
She came over immediately.
She was like, I got that joke. It was probably the first time she's ever gotten a joke.
She was like, this is catnip. Who are you? Are you God?
She's about to get it. Joe introduces her to Roy. She describes Alex as a new student.
Yeah.
But then says Roy is hard to explain. Although Roy could be explained in rapey bread delivery guy, 4 words. And Alex, you didn't even cover the one thing that you can't stop saying. I'm a princess. To the point where Alex has to do it for her.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, she's like, I think out of nowhere, I think it's only fair to tell you, I'm really a princess.
And then Roy's like, cool, I'm a prince.
All I care is that your high-waisted jeans come off. They come off, right? And she's like, I don't know. I've never been to a changing room before. Roy announces to Joe that he's got a graduation gift for her.
Well, Alex, so first of all, after all this incredibly awkward flirting between Alex and Roy, Alex disappears with the bread. She toddles off with this huge tray of 4 loaves of Wonder Bread.
On a tray. It was so weird.
Yeah, back to the
Put that in a bag.
Yep, back to the kitchen. And then Roy is all like coy and cute and nice and is like, I got you a graduation present, Joe. And she's like, I don't want it. I don't know what it is, but get it away from me.
No, she's actually kind of she's touched. She's like, well, you didn't have to do that.
She's sort of like, you didn't have to do that. That
and
was
Blair says it's so sweet.
Yeah, Blair says that was so thoughtful, which is like the worst wing woman is you want the person who's like, this guy, don't come near him. I don't know what this present is, but don't bring it anywhere near my friend. And then what does he?
Joe's like, where is it?
Yeah.
I want to see it.
Yeah.
Give me my present.
Yeah.
And he fucking dips her and kisses her on the mouth, and it was upsetting.
It was extremely upsetting.
And that's how we ended that scene with Blair being like, "Oh my goodness."
Blair had a pervy, I'm enjoying watching this grin on her face. Tootie looked surprised. Natalie was like, I like watching too.
Yeah, I think Natalie was like, damn, why didn't that happen to me?
Yeah.
And I think Blair was like, this is that dicking I told her she needed to get, and then maybe she'd grow out of this phase. But we're still in the cafeteria, even though it's a new scene.
Yeah.
Tootie is now trying on a gown while Natalie organizes hat tassels.
No. She's putting the tassel thing on the programs.
Oh, that's what she's doing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
Sorry. I really thought that the same thing, but again, I don't think that they would have invested that much props money into mortar boards, but they would have invested money into printout of papers and a couple rubber bands, which is
I'm mortified.
Okay.
So Tootie is wearing a graduation gown, enjoying it, and Natalie tells her to take it off because there's diplomas to roll, and also she looks like a gospel singer.
Okay, I laughed.
I did too.
Because the thing is that Tootie is clearly shirking her duties, right? The thing is that everyone is so stressed out about. Everyone is like, we have T-minus 24 hours until this event. We have to do all the cocaine, all the speed. We got to drink a lot of coffee. We got to stay up all night because this is really important. Graduation's coming right now. And Tootie's just flouncing around wearing someone else's gown, wearing Blair's gown. And the reason she looks like a gospel singer is because it has this very sort of prim little white collar over it. But and again, that was a choice to make her look like a gospel singer. Because had they put that on anyone, it really wouldn't have, except it was Tootie.
Yeah. Another girl, Lisa, walks in with Blair. She's getting Blair's advice on what shoe to wear, not wedgies.
Lavender wedgies.
They're tacky. Navy pumps instead.
Yeah.
Really feels like Blair started a business. Also, who is Lisa?
I don't know.
Well, I can tell you, she's played by Pamela Cohn. And she did this. That's
was
her bio.
Was she also in the second part of this as the person with the shoe issue?
Nope, that's Bonnie.
Oh. So they hired this Lisa person to do this one shoe thing, get insulted by Blair for having bad taste.
Yes, and maybe she's related to Mindy Cohn. They share the same last name. I did an enormous amount of research trying to find Pamela Cohn, and I couldn't. So I don't know what to tell you people. I at some point I had to give up. But Joe returns from using all the mouthwash on campus to wash off the taste of Roy's yeasty tongue.
Oh God,
a lot of bread.
Well, Yeah. Although, the thing about Roy is that he actually looks as though he smells like old coffee breath at all times.
I'm okay with that.
That's a person you love Roy, so
I love
that's
Roy. I love coffee. I love old. I'm good.
you like bread?
I do. Blair calls Joe the kissing valedictorian. Like that's some kind of expression?
Yeah. No.
Or a joke?
Nope. Nope. Not a joke. But again,
That's what it is.
all three of them then see that Joe was upset by the fact that she was just sexually assaulted.
Well, yeah, she says there's two things you don't make fun of: the Yankees and sexual assault. They should never mention this traumatic experience again. And what do the girls do?
Mention the traumatic experience again.
Yes, I think Tootie completely unhelpfully delivers a useless observation just designed to torment Joe. He really planted one on you, didn't he?
Natalie follows that up with a, "You turned blue."
Anyway, Joe's mom enters and they drop this and say their hellos. Joe's mom reminds us how psyched she is about all this. She asked if Joe's asshole dad has arrived yet. No, but for some reason Rose has gotten them 2 rooms at the Off-Ramp Motel.
That sounds
Wonderfully named.
really nice. So, and here's where I'm going to point out the fact that this two-parter feels flabby and thin. We could have gotten rid of all of this parental drama completely and either focused on the parental drama and just had that be the thing, or have it just be about the girls and the fact that they've just realized that graduations exist, which is apparently news to Tootie. Was she not at the one that happened last year? Was she not at the one that happened the year before that? Does she not know the definition of that, what that word is, or the concept?
She just thought they were gonna at the last second be like, this is too sweet of a gig. I can't give it up. Let's do one more year at Eastland. Let's wait until Tootie. Let's do 2 more years. Wait till Tootie's done.
Yeah.
And then we'll all move on together to a big house.
Which again,
with a croissant shop in the bottom.
Very much like a Tootie being a sociopath and extremely egotistical, being like, so none of you are going to move on without me, and I'm last in line, so you all have to live with me in my house.
I mean, it works out. Tootie learns that Joe is packed.
Yeah.
She's so upset.
And this is where she finally realizes, oh my God, it's really happening. This is like seeing someone giving birth and the baby's head is crowning, and you're like, can you just shove that back in? Because I didn't realize this is what was going to happen.
Kid? This is a child. This is not like, because I watched a Cosby Show where it was like a big hoagie. So is that possible? As Rose checks the spelling on the programs Natalie seems to be in charge of, Mrs. Garrett enters holding an empty tray, complaining about her feet. She was obviously about to assign the girls some awful task, but then she sees that there's another adult in the room, and she's like, I can handle it.
My bad. Oops, I'm sorry. Yeah, and then she starts being like, my dogs are tired. My dogs are barking. And she's like, I've had to go back and forth to the auditorium 23 times today. Mrs. Garrett clearly shouldn't be in charge of this event.
Maybe somebody who works in a place closer to the auditorium?
Or just she could be, the event producer and assign other people, younger people, maybe some tasks.
She could cater the after party, and that makes all the sense in the world. Also, she could help with last looks and give them, basting hems. That makes also sense.
Yeah.
That's where it should stop.
But again, that's the thing, is that once you get rid of all of this garbage with the parents, it could have actually been a very good moving episode where Blair and Joe, while they're in that little pen waiting to go into the auditorium to go be graduated, Mrs. Garrett is basically, doing last looks and like helping everyone. She's the guardian angel. She's like, giving everyone how can you live without Mrs. Garrett, basically? And you can't. And so that's the big, that's the payoff. And then we get all this nonsense in this first episode where the parents are just bickering.
Yes.
Blair's mom at one point pulls a Clint Eastwood and just yells at a chair for an evening.
That was impressive. So Rose gives Mrs. Garrett some advice on how to keep her toes from curling. Don't orgasm.
Not have sex.
Tootie whines about how she didn't realize that Blow were moving. It was just a date on the calendar. And then Blair comes in. Tootie informs her that she's graduating tomorrow. Blair's like, cool. She's holding a typewriter with an index card holder. And we learn, like any normal girl graduating in less than 24 hours, it's time for Blair to write 300 change of address cards.
And again, I was like, Blair is the rich kid on campus. She has a person or a service to do this for her.
Also, there's literally no way she knows what her address is. Like, you don't have your dorm yet. Come on. And also, it's wrong because you're going to be living at Edna's Edibles, care of Blair Warner.
Well, then she needs that typewriter again.
Oh, that typewriter is going to show up a lot for the rest of the show.
Oh, God.
It has a featured place. Anyway. Alone with Natalie, Tootie whines, no more Joe's bike. No more Blair's curlers. Like, Tootie, you're not even close to done with these things. Joe comes in, and Tootie tries to whine to her, but Joe's like, shut up, and Tootie's devastated. This is the end of the Four Musketeers. They're not going to be living together, rooming together, or being friends anymore.
Have they ever referred to them as the Four Musketeers ever? No. Do they ever refer to them as that again?
Possibly.
So this is the first time this is being introduced.
Yes.
When Tootie is bemoaning the end of the Four Musketeers.
Tootie is always bemoaning the end of something.
Oh,
and it always works out in her favor.
Of course, but also the other thing that I was going to say is that this episode also had a lot of yelling in it.
It did.
There was so much screaming. Tootie was at 11 on this.
Tootie was at 11. The parents were at 42.
Yeah.
So now we're back from break and still in the cafeteria. Natalie, it was their in joke, I think. They're like, we're getting rid of this cafeteria. Let's use it a lot.
Yeah.
Natalie's brought Tootie the only thing that comforts her in times of stress, an ice cream sundae, which Tootie is weirdly probing with a spoon rather than eating.
And it kind of looked as though Natalie was hunting around on Tootie for nits or lice.
I know what you're saying. I see that.
It looked like she wasn't comforting her. She was looking her over for, diseased insects. It was unpleasant this was weirdly blocked.
Yes, it was. Also weirdly blocked, Cousin Jerry comes in a weird ruffle neck blouse, as is her prerogative. And she waits 2 seconds to go, boy, things are going to change around here.
I know. And then, which sets Tootie off into screaming and crying, and also Natalie screaming and crying, saying, I just got her onto solid food. When is ice cream solid food?
Yes, I looked into this. Ice cream is actually both a solid, a liquid, and a gas. It's an exception to that rule. It's all 3 in 1. That's why it's such a treat.
Wow. Well, look at you.
Mm-hmm. Natalie explains what's going on. Jerry doesn't give a fuck. She's just like, I don't care what you're saying. I'm just going to go. I'm going to miss this place. And then Tootie suddenly realizes that Cousin Jerry is not going to be here doing free shows in the cafeteria at the Howard Johnson's Lounge anymore.
Oh, I know. And again, everything has to do revolves around Tootie and Tootie's feelings in this.
Yes.
Like once she suddenly realizes that her friends are not going to be here, she suddenly like, and her roommates are gone. She's like, we're not even going to have cousin Jerry, which is like, unbelievably insulting.
Yes.
Like,
Cousin Jerry's like, we'll do lunch because she doesn't want anything to do with Tootie either.
and then Natalie's like, she's offended. She's like, well, that's like a classic blow off. Jeez.
Yeah. And then Blair comes in, and Nat needs to remember her just this way. So Blair switches to her better angle and does that open mouth surprised look that she does every time there's a camera, which I love.
Mm-hmm.
Blair's mom, Monica, comes in.
Monica
chic as ever.
Monica enters. First of all, this woman, I don't recognize her every time I see her. The only Blair mom that I recognize is the one from the first season who was like, I drink a lot of milk and get a lot of rest. That's why I look so hot right now. So I don't know who this woman is.
Marge Ducey.
But in any case, her outfit that she comes in.
So weird. So weird.
Honest to God, she walked off the set of the Star Wars holiday special. It was so crazy. It was a high-necked red dress with long sleeves, full length. Okay, very normal.
Stop there.
Topped with a white and gray McNehru collar vest that goes to her knee. That is not a normal vest, because it's not even a normal vest that like that one would wear, that was sort of like had epaulets or something. It has this sort of sleeves that one would have that was cut out of a very, very deep wife beater. The holes for her arms are so wide and long that they go down to her ass. But
yes.
The other amazing thing about it is that those holes are covered with this enormous, like thick padded opening. So it looks like some sort of ancient menstrual product that you would have to use a belt to wear. She looked crazy.
It was so weird.
Like, oh, enter Senator Warner from Tatooine. Like, it was bizarre that she was in this crazy outfit.
She looks a lot better in her next outfit.
Well, yeah, her next outfit was pretty lame.
It was fine. It was normal, but this was crazy.
Did she bring this by herself and insist on it?
She remembers graduating from Eastland, and Jerry asks when that was, and she says at the end of my senior year, like everyone else.
Because she's dodging the question of how old she is, but presumably cousin Jerry's mother is Blair's mother's sister, and so she would probably know how old her aunt is.
Jerry just wants to
stir shit.
Shame Monica. And where'd you get that vest? Monica's psyched to tell Blair that she ran into Blair's dad at the inn. I'm assuming this isn't the off-ramp motel. Blair knew he'd show, but Monica still wants to shit on him. He said, I do, and he didn't. Get over it, Mon.
No, I know.
Jerry and Monica leave to go on a tour of places Monica's been proposed to or gave blowjobs. Unclear. Blair and Joe have a fight about using the one typewriter on campus. Blair's in charge of Blair's doing her change of address cards, but Joe needs to type out her speech because she can't read her own handwriting. It's a classic blow disagreement. I feel like Joe is in the right.
Absolutely. She totally needs to use that typewriter. The other great thing is that Blair uses this as an opportunity to insult Joe. She says, if you can't read your own handwriting, stop using crayons.
Good one, Blair.
Good one. But again, she is the valedictorian. So technically, she's the smartest person. So Blair, maybe step off.
Yeah, to go back to your grease monkeys and gangs jokes. Natalie is trying to save her time with the girls, but she can't because she's sick of them quibbling their last hours away. Time slipping by like sand in the hourglass. Everything that she says, Tootie repeats mistily.
Yeah.
So Natalie changes tacks, makes a food simile. It's like ice cream dripping down a cone, and then covers her Tootie's mouth with her hand.
Yeah. And so basically what's going on now is that Joe and Blair are fighting over this fucking typewriter. And Natoots are like basically doing the hysterical thing of, why are you fighting? We're supposed to have a good time right now. We're supposed to be laughing and having fun. We need to have fun, okay? It's our last time to have fun together. I just spat. Anyway, it's like one of those things where it's like, this isn't how you get people to have fun. If you yell at them to have, we're supposed to be having fun right now.
It usually works for me. So Joe steals the typewriter from Blair as Tootie begs them to heal old wounds, reminisce over old jokes. They just leave. Tootie sighs. Roy and Alex are back with their 10 boxes of 100 pineapples because of some hilarious off-camera mix-up with pie apples. Who calls them pie apples?
So I Googled it. Apparently people do.
Really?
Yeah.
Also, just make the pineapple pie now. That sounds delicious.
Make it upside down. You're good at those upside down pineapple cakes.
I love anything with pineapple, so I actually have made a pineapple pie recently, and it came out really good.
Well, so again, Mrs. Garrett needs to just cool her jets.
Broaden your horizons. Not everything has to be apple pie and apple strudel. Get over yourself.
Or Jello molds. But also, this is on Mrs. Garrett. This is her fault. She shouldn't speak like this to this dumb princess.
But she didn't, it sounds like, ask the dumb princess to get the pineapples. It seems like she said, I need to get 100 pineapples. And Alex was like, I'm going to surprise her. I'm going to go talk to my new fuck buddy. Got to take the baguette out of my body and get on the road.
Yeah.
New scene.
No.
Oh, yeah. Mrs. Garrett sends Alex to return the pineapples. And goes, make sure she never returns.
Yeah. And this is where I was like, oh, we're actually seeing that Mrs. Garrett truly hates this little girl.
Can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
Do we see her again? I know that she's doing in another room in the corner sorting toothpicks, and I know Roy comes to visit her. So her spirit is kept alive. But is this the last time we ever see her when Mrs. Garrett goes, make sure she never returns?
I think so.
Sick.
I'm pretty sure, actually, now that you bring it up.
I think so, too. That's awesome.
Yeah, she says, see that she never returns.
Like, she's shit on a couple more times, but...
Most ominous thing, see that she never returns.
That's great. New scene. Still in the cafeteria.
Yeah, Mrs. Garrett is covering some extremely boring graduation logistics with Emily, Lisa, Joe, and Blair.
Yes, they are the line leaders, and they're tasked with making sure that none of the sluttier Eastland girls decide to go commando under their gown as line leader.
Well, so the row leader, right? So you have to go into your row, like you're supposed to lead your row into the auditorium together, right? That's what it's called. And then she's also like, make sure everyone's wearing their cap and gown, and that they're making sure they're wearing something underneath. Emily laughs like a psycho. She's like, great idea, Mrs. Garrett. Like you could see it go across her little beady eyes.
Emily might be a psycho.
Yeah.
So Tootie picks up a diploma and pretends that she's won a Tony. She gives a very obnoxious speech, which Mrs. Garrett tries to shut down over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
We get more details from Tootie about how if someone got the wrong diploma, don't react. Just wait till the end and then they'll sort it out. Like, why do we need this information? There's so much like weird, boring graduation information.
And that's the thing, is that it's like, as soon as you say something like that, what expectation does that set up for your audience? There's going to be some big diploma fuck up that's going to be hilarious. There's someone's tits are going to fly out of their robe, right?
Emily.
No, I wish. No, unfortunately, her tits don't, because they're covered by a giant mohair sweater.
Blair gives some hair advice. Cap on last minute. Otherwise, you might as well just shave your head and kill yourself.
Yeah, that's true.
Rose comes in shit on Joe's dad because that's what they do in this episode. Apparently, he's still not here. Who cares? Don't stress your kid about it.
Exactly. I wrote down, he's a grown-ass man. He stole all those typewriters. You know, like, he can get
Maybe he can steal an extra one so that Joe and Blair can do their shit together.
That would have been a good graduation gift.
Yes. We learned that Monica, who's been fake crying all episode, has special tear-proof eyeliner she got in the Orient.
Yes.
She's willing to share it with Rose. The conjunctivitis storyline continues in season 5.
Everyone has pink eye.
Yes. A delivery man arrives with flowers for Blair.
Yeah.
He's played by Alan Bardsley. Bardsley.
Okay.
Alan, my apologies to the Bardsdales. He's played by Alan Bardsley, who got his start on the Archie Bunker's Place spinoff of All in the Family. He did a single episode before doing this. And then after this, he did One Day at a Time. He did The Wind in the Willows in 1983. In 1984, he was in the Dave Coulier kids show Out of Control. Did you ever watch that?
No.
I was such a huge fan of it. Actually, in the middle of my notes, I watched an episode. It's really weird and new wave. It's very strange, and I love it. But he was on one episode of that. And then finally, he did an Amazing Stories in 1987, where he had the memorable role of boy number 1. And that's his career. But I was a huge Out of Control fan, and I just learned from doing these notes that they only made 19 episodes of Out of Control.
Oh, wow.
They must have aired it on Nickelodeon all the time. I knew them all by heart. I watched them all many, many times. Or maybe they only aired over 19 weeks, and those 19 weeks were a profound period in my life.
Maybe.
I'm not sure.
It wasn't some sort of game show?
No, it was sort of like a learning show.
Oh, okay.
But it took the guise of like a fake late night talk show, which Dave Coulier hosted. And then there was she was like I want to say like a PA, cameraman, assistant type, but also sidekick named Diz. And Diz had like bright red lips and big blonde hair, and everything she wore was like new wave looking.
Mm-hmm.
And Diz works at a newspaper stand that's about 8 blocks from me, and she has for 20 years.
Okay. Really?
Yeah. Oh, and the reason I even recognized it was because Diz had incredibly long fingernails that were insane in all different colors and stuff. And so does this lady that I would go get my magazines from, my like British music magazines. And then one day I thought, is it? And I Googled it, and reading about her, it says that she's worked there for 20 years.
Oh my, wow. Worlds been had colliding.
Yeah, I don't know who's an Out of Control fan out there, but they're all on YouTube. Enjoy them. Anyway, the flowers are an apology from Blair's dad because he is not coming. Who didn't see him not coming?
We all.
Joe's dad enters.
Oh yeah, wearing a real snazzy suit and a little carnation on his lapel that made it look as though he was going to squirt someone in the eye.
Yes, it sure did. That flower was very conspicuous. He is boasting about some mystery money, insisting they're going to be staying at the inn.
Yes, and immediately Joe's mom is like, I can't deal with you when you're like this. What the hell? Where'd you get this suit? Where'd you get the car that you rented? What the hell's going on?
You know what I want to know about? What's going on with a divorced couple renting 2 rooms for each other? Who does that? I'm going to get my room. You get your room. See you there. Do we have to be at the same location? No. But we certainly don't need to be renting each other's rooms when we don't have money.
Kourtney Kardashian and Scott Disick. They would do something like that.
Okay, fine.
Co-parenting in 2021 at the off-ramp motel.
Or the inn. The inn at the Eastland. Charlie ran into Blair's dad at the end, who promised to take them all out to dinner. So Charlie's looking a bit like a fool here. But he regroups and offers to take everybody except for Alexandria and Emily to dinner at this fancy French place.
But that's the thing, is that immediately he was sort of like, "Oh yeah, no, I ran into your ex-husband at the inn. He seems like a really cool guy. In between all of his business calls, we were just shooting the shit. In between all his business calls, he told me all about his plans to take everyone out to dinner. And during his business calls, he also managed to book a flight to London, send some apology flowers to his only daughter. And he could do all of this in 1983 because he's what, Inspector Gadget? I don't understand. Who is this man?
He's David Warner.
But also, this man came all the way to Peekskill, New York. He's 3 minutes away from Eastland Academy. And he can't manage to stay there for like 12 hours to see his only daughter graduate.
He can't manage to drive 3 minutes over to be like, honey, I'm so sorry, I gotta go.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, but he's going to take everybody to dinner instead. Rose loudly and in front of everybody once again reminds him that he's a poor person while everybody politely pretends like they can't hear what's going on. And that they didn't already know that. And that everything is normal and the couple is not arguing in front of them. It's so messed up.
But so it's like, so basically what's going on is that Blair's mom is now shrieking because her ex-husband is not coming. And she feels like this is abandonment of their daughter. During like a big crucial moment of her life. And then, which is very embarrassing for, Blair to deal with her mother when she's acting like this in public, having this goddamn meltdown in front of fucking cousin Jerry. And then, Joe's parents are having an argument about money in public. Again, not something that you should do in polite company. Like if you're going to do this,
super tacky.
Go to the lounge.
Where they can't hear you.
Go to the
lounge of secrecy
that you rented for the weekend.
Anyway, so Blair and Joe scream and leave. They walk into the kitchen where Natalie and Tootie and so many different Jell-O molds are waiting for them.
Yeah, and then Natalie
and they're jiggling subtly, which I enjoyed.
Yeah, and then Natalie and Tootie are standing there like the fucking twins from The Shining behind them. And are like, oh, look, it's the two graduates. It's the graduates. Are you having a good time graduating? You want to go graduate right now? You want to go graduate right now? Are you having fun graduating? You want to go graduate? And they're like, shut the fuck up. We're having a bad time right now.
Yes.
And then Joe yells at Tootie saying, you sound like a fucking baby. And then Blair's like, you know what, Natalie? If you need to have these fucking memories so badly, why don't you just write them in your goddamn diary? Because I'm pretty sure you lie in there anyway.
Yoinks. Joe and Blair want nothing to do with them. They run upstairs, eager to put Eastland behind them. Seems like such a sudden turn to like be blaming Eastland and be shitting on Natoots when it was like, your parents came in, were assholes. Be mad at them. Eastland was your sanctuary away from them.
Yeah. So can I ask you one little small piece of advice / knowledge? Because the feed that I watched this on had both episodes condensed into one.
That's how it aired.
Okay. So there was no actual like break in between here?
No, I believe that would be a commercial break, but that would be it.
So this was a two-parter that aired both parts together?
Yes.
I see. So they didn't even manage to get a cliffhanger right on this show.
No. That's the same way that our season premiere is going to work. It's they open the season with an hour long after having the movie, and then they close it with an hour long, and then they open again with an hour long.
That's what the audience wants.
I mean, they were never more popular once their transfer to Edna's Edibles kicked in. So it's now the next day, and the Toots are serving the girls in the cafeteria while also telling them to hurry the fuck up because showers need to be taken and hair needs to be set. And why are these girls the ones in charge of everything?
Right?
Like, Natalie is serving them, warning them about like their time for bathroom. Like, this is weird.
Yeah, it shouldn't be. If Mrs. Garrett is like the event planner for all of this, shouldn't she be like allocating resources from like others?
All the money went into the Sing Sing cleaners. Everything else she had to do by hand.
Why? They're prisoners.
Anyway, so we learned that Joe and Blair are repentant now about how they've behaved around the Toots. They've apologized, although Joe continues to yell at Nat for a bit. Blair apologizes for being like, go down, write that in your diary. But Nat explains that her diary and her have a codependent relationship. She tells her diary the good stuff, and without the girls, it would basically only be about cakes.
Yeah. They hug. I was going to say that what was I going to say about this? There's an odd like they don't, for some reason the props decided that they wanted them to all eat out of these like orange plastic cups, which made them look like they were eating and again, it's not a problem, but clearly it's the morning of their graduation. So it did make it look as though they were eating just a giant plate of nachos together, which, you know what? It's graduation morning. If you want to rock out on some nachos. But again, last week's episode, I was so concerned about, the toilet situation at Eastland because of their impacted colons from all that study eating, that maybe if you're so nervous about, having to deliver your big speech, or now you're anxious about graduating in general and what that means in terms of, how to become a grown-up, right? Maybe don't eat something that's too spicy for your lower colon.
Have you ever made nachos with nacho cheese Doritos?
No.
Would that be overkill?
I don't think so, because I have had a taco made out of Doritos that Taco Bell sold.
Of course.
Yeah.
Did you have a bean one?
Yeah, of course.
I wasn't sure if there were other vegetarian options like Impossible Chicken or something. I don't know. I don't pay attention to vegetarian options at Taco Bell.
Fair enough. I just remember that when I was at South by Southwest with you many years ago or whenever, and you and I were not together at this point. I think because you and I we enjoy spending time together, but sometimes our musical taste does not overlap.
Yes, I have good taste and you like bland shit.
I like garbage. And so, but I was at a party.
Garbage actually has a new album coming out this year.
Oh, good for
Go
them.
on.
Anyway, I do. Shirley Manson is a icon. But anyway, I was at the, I think the Hype House, some evening party or whatever that was sponsored by Taco Bell. And for anyone who has not been to South by Southwest, you're on your feet from 11 a.m. to 3 a.m.
Yes, that's the exact time.
You were basically drinking and in the sun all day until you start going to concerts at night. And then at night, you're like, let's try to see if we can get more free stuff. And I was at a free party and that was sponsored by Taco Bell, and they had just launched the Dorito tacos. And
Doritos Locos Tacos.
And it was like chaos. People were like ripping them from one another's hands. It was like the most popular thing possible. Like it was it literally is the sort of thing that like a stoned person would devise, being like, this would go with this. Why hasn't this happened yet? And then, Taco Bell was like, you're right. When you're right, you're right. When you're right, you're right.
They've actually discontinued all but nacho.
Well,
the Cool Ranch ones, I loved them.
I'm not that fond of Cool Ranch in that scenario.
Interestingly, I'm not a ranch person. Like, I'm a blue cheese guy. However, I love a Cool Ranch Dorito.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I don't know how we got here, but I actually do. It was all my fault. So Tootie is now aware that there's some things that Joe doesn't want to remember about this place. Decides to pull out her camera and sing memories until Joe yells at her again.
I mean,
it's this amazing power of guilt that they're wielding now with Joe, though.
I know, but if I was feeling apologetic for having yelled at someone, for having called them a baby, and then ran away, and then the next day that person who was arguably acting like a baby because she clearly didn't remember what the word graduate meant until halfway through, the last scene, which caused the meltdown, right?
Yes.
And now Tootie's coming up to Joe being like, do you forgive me? And Joe's like, being like, yeah, no, I mean, we're fine. I'm sorry about what I said. Then Tootie immediately, because she's a fucking little theater kid, runs over, gets her tiny little camera, starts taking photos of them and singing memories. If someone started singing Cats to me, I would punch them in the throat.
Any Cats song?
Yeah, any of them.
I worked at a job where the showrunner loved Cats, ironically, and Grant had a childhood of where his dad loved Cats, so he had to see it a bunch in theater. So the two of them would sing Cats all the time, but nobody was enjoying it. Nobody actually likes Cats in the room, yet we had to hear it all the time.
I think, to be perfectly frank, it was so, I think for kids who grew up in the tri-state area of New York in the late 80s.
In a certain radius from the Winter Garden Theater.
The Winter Garden, where it's Cats now and forever. It was inescapable. So it was just this thing that was just part of your DNA, your city DNA. It was an onslaught. So at this point, I have no idea whether I like it or not. It was just so thrust into my face. And I didn't like it, and now I don't like it.
Well, I'd only seen the movie.
Yeah, I know. I tried to watch the movie, and I had to turn it off after 10 minutes.
It's one of the weirdest things I've ever seen.
I got to the dancing cockroaches, and then I was like, this is too much, and we had to turn it off.
Oh, it gets so much more much. So Mrs. Garrett comes in, declares that this will be the best graduation ever. Sure, yeah. Because of all the Jello molds, I assume. She has Alexandria sitting in a corner sorting toothpicks by color.
I know.
Love it. I feel like they really could have made this work if they had a different actress for Alexandria. Just somebody that Mrs. Garrett hates all the time.
Well, but then again, here's the thing. I completely agree. Someone that she would just load, garbage tasks onto, right? Don't make her a princess. Make her like anything else.
There's a lot of ideas thrown at Alexandria. None of them stuck. Blair and Joe start arguing again, this time about the shower, because Joe knows it takes Blair 3 hours to do her hair, so Joe should just not shower for her graduation.
Apparently, even though she is the one who is giving the commencement speech, so everyone will be looking at Joe.
Yes, Natalie grabs her tape recorder from last week's episode and starts recording the argument so she can play it back and masturbate to it when she's lonely for friends next year. And Tootie thinks this is a great idea, not sad at all. They should just get popcorn for it.
This was where I felt like my soul left my body. Like, why would this is a psychotic thing to even think about.
It's such a weird thing to say, put in the world for kids to hear.
Yeah.
I'm going to look at pictures of you. I'm going to listen to this argument. And we're going to eat popcorn on lonely nights.
Yeah. That'll be our entertainment rather than going to see, I don't know, Love Story, Cats,
That
the
new Star Wars
the
film.
new Star Wars film that's coming out soon. The new Charles Bronson movie that's probably going to come out soon.
Yeah, it's sort of like The Group meets Peyton Place.
It's exactly.
Natalie tries to get the ball rolling by telling Joe to call Blair Airbrain.
Yeah, then they instigate it.
Like she did previously, and for Blair to call Joe Gladys Goodwrench, which I think was a new one.
That is brand new. I've never heard that
I liked it. Blair and Joe explain their arguments are works of art, not easily duplicated. And so Natalie just leaves her tape recorder and is like, just hit record when you're feeling it. Feel something coming.
So again, here's where I actually laughed at that, because Blair was like, our arguments.
Both your laughs have been Natalie lines.
Wow, well, there we go. But our arguments are works of art. And then Joe says something where she's like, yeah, you can't just pull it out of your ass. You got to pull it out of your fucking face, or some dumb thing like that. And then Natalie, after being so invested in this, painting the picture of, yeah, me and Tootie are going to sit around and eat and listen to you guys fight and jerk one another off. She's like, yeah, okay, whenever you're ready, just hit the red button. We got to go do stuff.
They do. They're in charge of the whole fucking graduation. Jerry enters with Monica, who's finally looking chic enough to be a Warner.
Yeah.
Jerry, however, looks like a cropped eggplant emoji.
Oof. That shirt was, I actually thought that shirt was square.
I think it was.
It was like a square.
This is where we learn that Jerry tells us that Monica had the waiters set a place for Blair's dad so she could yell at his empty chair all night.
Yep. Classic Clint Eastwood moment.
Innovation. Joe sneaks off to the shower. Blair will only get 2 hours and 45 minutes. It's going to be a disaster, her hair. Monica will not let Blair's dad get away with this. She's going to buy Blair a sable coat. Send him the bill. Outrageous. Monica opines how she should have never married him or never left him. She should have stuck around, made his life miserable. Kids taking notes.
Yeah. No, and then Blair's like, basically, Blair and Joe have to parent their parents in this episode by basically saying, like, Mom, no, I don't want the sable coat. And then she's like, but Daddy, I know that Daddy loves me. And you need to accept that. And then Monica Warner's like, why? And she's like, because if I don't accept the fact that I know that he loves me, I will spend my entire life being angry. And Monica Warner's like, I still don't really understand. Why can't we should be torturing this man. And also, that's fine. He can love you. Take the fucking coat, bitch. It's a full-length sable? That's like $15,000.
Seems like a good deal.
Yeah.
Well, new scene. Where are we? The cafeteria.
Yeah.
Unreal. This time it's Joe and her mother. Joe is wearing her gown. Rose is shitting on Charlie for being late and making her eat at the underpass coffee shop by herself, even though she won't go to graduation until she sees just how late he is.
No, I know. The other great thing about this is that I actually felt like Joe in this scene was like, we need to just wrap this up. Like, she entered this scene being like almost inarticulate. She was like, so I haven't had dinner. And her mom was like, oh, I'm here to act. She's like, oh, I'm very upset about your father. I had to eat at the coffee shop last night. Blah, blah, blah. Where the hell is he? I'm not even going to go see your valedictory speech until he comes. I want to see how late he is going to be. And it's like, just go sit down. You'll see when he walks in. to the
This is why
auditorium
your daughter fought against all odds to get to this school, to get away from your toxic energy, Mom.
from both of you.
Yeah. They're both assholes, but she's nuts today. So Roy enters in a fantastic pink satin jacket and green checkered shirt. He's looking fly.
Yeah.
He has a rose, but it's not for Joe.
Yeah. And Joe's like, thank God.
She's so happy. This was the graduation gift she was looking for.
She's so psyched. She's so excited. And he's like, it's like, I have an appointment with Alexandria. And she's like, and then like Joe's like, an appointment? What kind of appointment? An accounting appointment? What kind of appointment? She gonna fix your bike? And then she's just sort of like, an appointment? You mean a date? And he's like, no, my sweetheart. Yes, it is a date. But please, no, I'm not trying to hurt you. We'll always have whatever this is. And it's like, stop it. I don't like seeing this sort of dumb gaslighting.
Also, he's like 24 and she's 15. It doesn't seem right. Alexandria is. Yeah. But Joe is just thrilled that he's not her problem anymore. Roy begs for her to understand. He does. He walks into the cabinet or the counter rather, and then he walks into the door. I don't think that the cabinet was intentional, but I think he did the door intentionally to make the cabinet look like it was intentional.
Yes, I agree with you. Even though he kind of pecked at the door.
Yeah, it was very weird. It was like not what I think that they were expecting. Charlie enters wearing yesterday's suit with a new flower.
Yep.
Rose starts shitting on him. What were you buying lunch for all of downtown Peekskill? He's like, yeah, I know an all-afternoon pizza place.
Again, they're not married. Who gives a shit? You know, a healthy relationship where you're co-parenting, literally, like the valedictorian, the kid that you share, who you've scrapped and saved to send to this prestigious elite boarding school, is the top of the class. And these two dum-dums keep acting like, will they, won't they, as though anyone gives a shit about them.
Yeah. They're really trying to work that Doorknob sequel spinoff. Charlie shows Joe a pin, and Rose starts shitting on that. Going to school on scholarship. You're going to give her a present, give her textbooks. Not food, because she's going to have croissants coming out of her ass. But textbooks would be fine. And Charlie's like, no, the pin's not for Joe. It's for you. She's like, that's even stupider.
I know. And then, once she looks at the pin, she's like, it's a nice pin. I like the pin. It's a good pin. Maybe I'll like this pin. I like this pin. She turns into apparently Robert De Niro.
Yes.
When I was watching.
In your retelling. He explains that this is her graduation too, and he needed to feel like show her a nice time with a good hotel, nice dinner. It's like he didn't have to do that, and he really didn't.
This is where I was like, what is this writing? This was so bizarre. So he comes in, he comes in to his daughter's graduation. Joe is wearing the gown that you wear with the tassel that you have that shows that you're, the important one, and then comes in and then does a bait and switch, shows this fancy ass velvet box to Joe and is like, you like this? And Joe's like, well, I don't know. I mean, it feels a little, and then immediately Joe's mom starts shrieking at him, being like, why didn't you buy her something more, useful, like the textbooks or whatever? And Joe then immediately is sort of like, kind of like, a little, I kind of like the pin, Mom. Can I have the nice fancy pin? Because Dad is acting like it's a graduation gift for me right now. And then she kind of is like, no, but it's too fancy for me. And then Charlie, like, basically does a Richard Gere in Pretty Woman and is like, nope, not for you. and then moves over to Rosie and is like, "It's for you." And she's like, "Well, now what the hell's going on?" And then he explains to her using the weirdest language. He says, "I wanted to make this weekend special for you. A hotel room with extra hangers, a dinner served on more than one plate. The way I figure it, it's your graduation too." What is his obsession with multiple hangers and multiple plates?
Multiple means luxury.
Yeah, not one of those the off-ramp motel that has one shared hanger for
the
all
whole floor. She says you really didn't have to do that, and he's like, "Yes, I did." And then he gives her the pin. She looks at it and she's like, "Charlie, I'm impressed."
And then they're back together, or like kind of like they've stopped arguing. But
They stopped arguing.
But again, this was not like, it's creepy enough for these two adult people, these parents, to be acting like this. You know, if they had to scrap and save to send in the like $4,000 check for the first semester of Langley, he shouldn't be out here buying these expensive pins.
I mean, I agree. But maybe he's throwing money around, and it's never explained where it's come from. So I'm thinking that he just did something illegal.
Yeah, more typewriters.
More typewriters. He's got a whole house full of them. So now we're backstage at graduation.
I know.
Girls are milling about in their caps and gowns. Blair's eating off her lip gloss. Joe's freaking out about it, starting on time. Bonnie's hem is unraveling.
It's chaos.
Bonnie.
Who's this person?
Yes. Bonnie is, of course, Jill Mallory. You'll remember her in the iconic role of teenage girl in the John Malkovich film Making Mr. Right.
Of course. My favorite movie.
She was Sheila in the 1985 sex comedy Hot Chili.
Hot Chili?
Hot Chili. Mm. She did one episode of Double Trouble where she played Gail. A lot of people go on to do Double Trouble after Facts of Life. And then there's Bonnie from Facts of Life. That's her career. Jill Mallory, everybody.
Solid one at that.
Yeah, so 83 to 87, she was rocking it. Anyway, Mrs. Garrett comes in to see if the girls need any help, and of course there's Bonnie needing to be basted.
Yeah.
A basting stitch is a temporary stitch that's used to hold layers together until a final stitch can be made, then it's easily removed. Mm-hmm. That's how you get basted, folks.
Baster.
Tootie comes in to see if everything's going smooth, and everybody just quietly groans because it's Tootie.
Yeah, and Tootie is basically acting like, Tootie and Natalie are both acting like, air traffic controllers here, even though
unsure of what their job is. They just know it's very important, and without them, this graduation goes off the rails.
And they're both wearing sort of matching outfits, except in color that are different in color. Natalie's is bright blue, and Tootie's is sort of a, how would one describe it? I would say the bottom of a pool in Florida in 1981. Sort of white and green and pink and yellow. It's just a mess. But they're basically the same shape, which again, very much resembles a square.
Yes. And it's rectangle. They're rectangle ladies.
And it's tight around both of these two young women's breasts. It's so tight on their tits. And they're teenagers now. So they have racks, right? So it's tight on their tits. And it's like the most unflattering thing because it's also makes them look like barrels around their midsection. And it completes into this tiny little garbagey skirt. It was so ugly. I couldn't believe it. I thought they had made those 5 minutes before they shot this.
Along with Monica's vest. Costume department was pulled thin this week.
Yeah, I guess
45 guest casts, and they obviously filmed it all in one night.
They were doing their Baster Baster Stitch.
Baster Stitch. Yeah, all that basting humor. So anyway, everybody's favorite character, Emily, shows up absolutely giddy to take off her clothes because her makeup is melting off.
Okay, so here's where, again, I had a genuine laugh. And it was mostly physical comedy.
Yes.
Because first of all, Tootie is wearing this weird little tiny white outfit, white, pink, blue, green.
Full bottom color.
Full bottom. And she is like shorter than Emily by, I don't know, 2 feet. 3 feet. Emily looks like a giant.
Yeah.
She's 7 feet tall. And in she comes, like, coming in like Vince McMahon entering the arena for a wrestling match, and is like pulling at her robe, and is like kind of can't get it off, like she's trying to get a condom off through the top.
It's so weird.
It's so weird. And Tootie's like, no. We got to keep that. We keep that on. We keep Emily. We keep this part on.
And Emily is giddy about doing this.
Yeah, and she's like, I can't. I'm sweating off all my makeup. I'm fucked up right now. I took some Molly like 20 minutes ago. So
that's exactly what she looks like.
And she's like, so I think I'm peaking, but also, does it feel hot in here? It feels hot in here. And it's like, she's very distracted. And Tootie keeps being like, no, girl, like, you got to keep that on. Like, this sort of like the drunk girl at the party who wants to take her clothes off, you know?
She's so giddy to do it. There's just this weird grin on her face while she's doing it. It's so weird.
She's ripping it off, and she is revealing a lilac-colored mohair sweater over her not small breasts. And so I was looking at her and I felt hot. I was like, I want to take some of my clothes off because, like, first of all, I remember when I was at my graduation, those robes are cheap and crappy and made out of synthetic materials. They are so fucking hot. And here comes Dum Dum Emily wearing like a snowsuit underneath there. And she's like sweating like bullets. And Tootie's like, no, okay, we're gonna go. We have to go now. We have to go. We'll take your gorilla sweater off.
Mrs. Garrett solves this bizarrely by screaming, "I've got Kleenex!" And then just throwing it at Tootie. It appears to resolve the matter.
Yeah, because I guess she was sweating all of her makeup off, and so it was just to like dab her brow.
And that's gonna cool her down? I don't know.
Maybe just take off the gorilla sweater.
Yes. Tootie warns everybody, no mugging, no speeches. A Viva victory is okay. That's it.
But
Who's
again,
giving speeches? Are people giving speeches when they get their diploma, like individually?
No, to be perfectly frank, most people I know, not most, but a lot of people I know didn't even go to their graduations because it's something that you do kind of for your parents or like because you're super into your school, but like, I don't know, unless you're Blair or Joe, none of this matters because like these people, Emily doesn't matter. We've never seen her before. I mean, we have seen her before, but we're never going to see her again.
Break my heart.
But that's the thing is that but also the other thing is that like, what does Tootie know? A day ago, she forgot what graduations are. And now she's coming in with this like she's coming in hot with all this advice of like, okay, here's how we're running it. No speeches, no stumbling. You can do one little victory sign and then you need to keep it moving. And it's like, well, now you're here with this advice? You apparently forgot this yesterday. So you have done this before.
We just know she's a sociopath, so it's really whatever's going to benefit her at the time that she's speaking. But Lisa comes in and breaks a heel and then monologues about wobbly knees. Now we know more about Lisa than Nancy.
Yeah, and so she has wobbly knees, and so because she has wobbly knees, she broke her shoe?
I guess so, but Mrs. Garrett can fix that.
Mrs. Garrett?
She says she can fix that, but instead she throws glue at Tootie and then goes, Tootie will fix that.
Well,
she can't fix that. Tootie can fix it.
But Mrs. Garrett is basically being kind of like the low-grade Mary Poppins during this scene. Like, she has all the things in her bag to make sure that this goes smoothly.
Yes, but still, she could say, Tootie can fix that. Here's some glue. Not, I can fix that. Here, Tootie, fix that.
Yeah.
Blair laments that she's got 30 minutes left of perfect puff before her hair becomes limp linguini.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that was right?
Well, it was funny. I was actually thinking about this. I was like, so when I was at my graduation in college, it was a downpour, and graduation was outside in a tent because it's like, I don't know, 500 people or whatever, plus your 3 selected guests. And so, but I remember being like, oh, well, that's too bad because, my family is going to be taking pictures. There's going to be official pictures taken of everyone. And we're all going to just be like, look like we have a mullet like this, all like limp linguini. And, but the thing is that I had a couple of hair products, namely hairspray. So I sprayed the shit out of my hair and it looked great. And I feel like Blair knows all about hairspray.
She must.
I mean, with hair like that, it's 90% hairspray. Like if you held a match like a foot away from her hair, she would blow up.
Oh. Well, I'm glad that never happened.
I am too.
Jo can't remember her speech or how to read or use her eyes or how to not monologue like Natalie.
Well, yeah, Jo enters and apparently has had some sort of aneurysm and acquired blindness and a brain disorder.
Yes.
She stopped being able to see, read, speak, or think. I mean,
I think that's called a case of the jitters.
Yeah.
Natalie reminds them all that the only thing that could fuck this whole thing up is them. Then informs Emily that her grandpa got Blair's dad's unused ticket, so everybody's happy except for Blair.
No, Blair's fine about it. It's that the grandfather's having a bad time because he's sitting next to Blair's shitty mom, who's talking about the dad the whole time.
Well, if he's rich, this grandpa, then Blair's mom's gonna have a great time, and so will he. Jo still can't remember her speech, but is remembering Pearl Harbor instead. So Blair tries to remember part of it for her.
Yes.
Even though Blair's eyes work, therefore she could just grab that speech from Jo's hand and read it to her, but whatever.
That's too easy?
Apparently so. So Jo practices her speech out loud, and it is bad, you guys.
It's so bad. I didn't write any of it down.
Was that?
I didn't write a single bit of this down.
This is what I wrote because this was my favorite part. Graduation is traditionally a time of looking forward, but let us consider a moment how we arrived at this moment. Say moment again, bitch. Yeah. Look, that was what she said, and that is your valedictorian right there.
Yep.
As Jo's speech goes on, we get these weird I Love Lucy style flashbacks with the round pink border, which I was cracking up at.
So, and here's the thing is that it's Jo who is remembering her crappy speech while remembering the various, things that impacted her experience at Eastland, right? And so they show basically like a sizzle reel of Jo interacting with each of the characters. Tootie, Mrs. Garrett, Natalie, and Blair. These are like big moments, right? But
Alexandria.
no Alexandria. But they are in black and white, as you said, a glowing pink border. And Jo is really trying to sell this trashy garbage speech she's written.
So bad.
Make it sound emotionally connected to, the people that she's met and the things that she's learned along the way, right? And it should feel, because as I've said, the format of graduation episodes is that you get to indulge, for the audience gets to indulge in watching the bits of the best moments of watching your favorite characters interact, right? And so you get you get a really cute smash cut sizzle reel of them, meeting one another for the first time, or the paint party, and actually admitting that they like one another. But this sizzle reel managed to piss all that away, because it was like, I can't see it. I don't know the context. What is this?
And we've laughed, we've cried, we've been in black and white.
Yeah. A little song, a little dance.
A little pink border around your ass.
Down my pants.
So Blair decides she looks hot in her graduation cap. She can even make that work.
Mm-hmm.
Natalie tells everyone to walk straight. Tootie reminds them tassels on the left, like Blair. She pulls Blair up to the front. Very loaded moment. She goes, everybody look at Blair. Because Blair loves to be looked at, and so it was like Tootie giving this gift to Blair. And what does Blair do with this gift? She cracked me up, honestly.
She demonstrates how to move a tassel from one side to the other.
Yes, and when it's on the right side, she makes a no face, and when it's on the left side, she makes a yes face. I love this moment. Yes, wide open mouth. And then the graduation march begins. Pomp and circumstance, you say it's called.
Yeah. So basically, again, the weird thing is that it really did feel like they were stretching here, because once we had like 15 minutes of Blair just mugging about how to properly move a tassel from one side to the other, and then they're like, Azad Khalada was like, "What? Oh, sorry. I fell asleep. Where are we? Have they walked in yet? No. Okay, fine. Just peas and carrots it for a while."
Before that, also, you did remind me that during those flashbacks, the best part was the peas and carrots. There was just like this weird walla of like whispering nonsense that I was desperate to understand, and you could get words like insecure and stress sometimes in them. It was great. But yes, Mrs. Garrett, once Pomp and Circumstance starts playing, she has like a little mini stroke brought about by an enormous orgasm.
Yes. Well, I will say this about Pomp and Circumstance. So I'll give you a little download about that, which is a little unusual, just because it wasn't written by an American. It was written by Elgar in 1901 for the coronation of King Edward VII. But the reason why it started becoming popular in America for graduations is purely happenstance and a little bit of jealousy. It's that Yale University gave a honorary degree to Elgar, and as he left the stage after, I think, giving a little speech about like, "Thank you so much, I really appreciate it, Yaleys," whatever, they played it like as his playoff music, and everyone was like, "Oh shit, they got that communion march for the fucking king," and everyone's like, "They played that at Yale? Yo, we have to play that at Princeton." And it's like, now we have to play this at University of Chicago. Now we have to play this at Northwestern. Now we have to play this at Harvard. It was just this like whole big thing where everyone was just jealous about like, "Oh, now this is our thing. And that is how it became so commonplace in America.
Very interesting. I did not know that at all.
Yeah.
So yes, as you say, the girls formed the world's longest lines. Literally every single student at Eastland walking slowly, just clack, clack, clack.
Oh,
a good 12 minutes of the episode.
And I kind of felt like a lot of those extras didn't learn how to walk in the shoes they were given.
Yes, I noticed
No
that
one
too.
was walking correctly. Some people were wearing like one big shoe, one small. Some people had two big shoes, and they were just like, some people just were like, I'm uncomfortable in high heels. And they were like, give her the 6-inchers. She'll run. And it was just weird. No one could get it right. And the other thing that was insane was that it was this big, long procession, which isn't how it works for graduations, because you go alphabetically. Polnicek, P is nowhere near W.
Amen to that.
And so P and W are at the end, and they're like, this is a real shit. We have to go do this now. We got to go in. We have to go do this now. And they kind of looked at one another and reflect on this.
They're like, no more curfews, no more living above a kitchen. You're definitely going to live above a kitchen. They say one more, no more, and then nothing more. And it's so loaded, as am I at the time of writing this, as are the potato skins that I decided to make later. And now they walk in.
Yeah. So again, here's the thing. This was very poignant, this moment of these two girls actually having to confront the reality of this. We're never going to do this again. This is it. And to be honest, I mean, my high school graduation was way more meaningful to me than my college one, because I was, as you said, when we were talking about college graduation, I think in the last episode, you were like, I can't wait to get out of here. I was basically the same. I was like, this is fine. College was good. Let's just be on this. But high school, I was like, this is a big milestone. This is a big thing. And if you combine pomp and circumstance and then two young people reflecting on the things that they're going to miss about high school, and play that for anyone around the ages of 16 to 19, they're going to be in tears, because they're like, oh my God, we're just about to do that. Or, oh my God, we just did that. And this show couldn't even do that.
Nope.
So what happened? We see them go in. Do we see the graduation?
Oh, no, we are now suddenly in the future. The girls are in their bedroom for the last time.
Packing up.
Tootie shames Natalie for bringing some bedroom pastries up to their room, but Natalie plays it off, pretending like they were for Joe and Blair's drive to the city.
Again, what was that? Why a final dig at Natalie for bringing cookies to the room?
Why you gotta bring cookies everywhere, Natalie, though?
But that's her thing. She has room cake.
Yes. Tootie has decided to see the bright side of things and is now really excited to decorate half the room with Michael Jackson posters. All Michael, all the time. No Jermaine, whatever. No. Meeting Jermaine had a really negative impact on her. Ever since she left that concert, it's been Michael, Michael, Michael.
Yeah.
Tootie wonders if she can go to sleep without the sound of Blair snoring, which is how Blair finds out she's got sleep apnea.
Yeah. And they talk shit about that. And then also they just start talking about picking beds already. And Joe is kind of like, hey, my bed's still warm. What the hell are you doing, Natalie? And Natalie's basically like, listen, bitch, you're out of here tonight. I've been sleeping in a coffin for 4 years. So fuck you. I'm taking your bed. Which, honestly, the most real thing of this whole episode is that once someone leaves campus, you immediately squabble over who gets the bed, who gets the desk, who gets the window, you know.
Mrs. Garrett shows up with a present for Blair and a present for Joe.
Yeah.
She got Joe a lovely rock, technically a geode.
Mm-hmm.
That was a popular gift among my family in the 80s. My dad had several children, 5 sisters, and about 30 geodes gifted to him. Joe loves it, proving my theory: lesbians love geodes.
I think that all kids in the 80s really were were being brainwashed into liking geodes because they were cool. Like if you got one and you were like 8 years old and it hadn't been yet cracked open, it literally just looked like a shitty rock. And then you got a little hammer and it's like, no, no, no. You got a hammer and you broke it open and there were crystals inside and that was cool. But like,
I've never seen one that you broke open yourself. I've always seen half ones.
yeah, well,
I guess your geodes were cooler.
a
Mrs.
DIY geode. Yeah, very cool.
Mrs. Garrett says that Joe is like a geode, built like a rock, but with marvelous things going on inside. And Joe's like, "You talking about my labia, Mrs. G?" And then Mrs. Garrett knitted a sweater for Blair, which is way better than a geode, but Blair doesn't think so.
No, I know. And again, she's like, it's a hand knit sweater, which again resembles a square. It really looks like a big, like a serape.
Wardrobe must have been so sad when they found hand knit sweater at the end of the episode, and they're like, 42 guest stars, so many days, so many outfits.
Anyway, so Mrs. Garrett has basically spent, a year knitting this fucking sweater for Blair. And then gives it to her, and Blair's like, "Where's my story, bitch?"
She wants to be compared to her sweater.
And then Mrs. Garrett's like, then Mrs. Garrett has to like stall. She's like,
It's becoming in style and color.
it'll bring out the green and gold flecks in your eyes.
Blair's like, just talk about my fucking inner self, please. That's all I want.
It'll keep you warm.
Inner self. Mrs. Garrett says some nice stuff about how Blair has grown so much. Mrs. Garrett's lucky to have her as a friend. Blair's like, I guess that's fine.
Well, and here's why this is actually kind of insulting. Mrs. Garrett comes in, gives Blair this very thoughtful gift. Blair kind of is like a little disappointed in it. And then says, "Where's my story?" And then goads Mrs. Garrett into giving her some like a meaningful thing that she's going to say to her about what Blair is like. And then Mrs. Garrett hems and haws and then finally lands on, Blair, you've really grown the most of any girl I've known who's come to Eastland. You're so sensitive now. Which basically means that when Blair got to Eastland, she was the worst person on earth.
She was sneaking cigarettes indoors in a room filled with children.
But here's the thing: is that if you start off at you've had the most growth, that means you started at the bottom.
We all know Tootie started at the bottom. Mrs. Garrett heads down. Oh, sorry. No, Mrs. Garrett and Blair and Joe hug, and Tootie interrupts it by going, "Hold it," so she can snap another picture. If she didn't say hold it, she would have gotten such a nicer picture.
I know. I agree.
But then she's like, "Hold it." And they're like, "What?" Anyway, Mrs. Garrett heads down, trying not to cry, talking about the people she hired to clean up. I assume it's Emily, Alexandria, Lisa, and Bonnie, but whatever. The girls now try not to get emotional while talking about Mrs. Garrett, and also the word goodbye apparently is a trigger.
Well, because remember they were like, well, don't say the word graduation. You promised not to say the word graduation. You promised to not say the word goodbye.
Yes, yeah. Now Blair and Joe are quoting Days of Our Lives, and Natalie gets pissed because she did that yesterday, and they didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Joe talks about how the four of them will never be together again, which is totally untrue.
But also, again, just don't say it. Just leave the room. Take your shit and go.
Natalie tries to force her cookies and brownies on the girls. They decline, so Natalie compares herself to Benji and says if he can go across the country to save a kid in need, she can spend 50 cents to see them.
To go on the bus down the road.
Yeah. 50 minutes. Just hop on the back of Roy's 10-speed.
Yeah. I don't know. That's the thing, is that they're acting as though this is the worst thing in the world. And it's kind of okay.
And then what's really weird is that Tootie's like, hey, guys, I've never been in love with yet.
Yeah. She's like, you wait. She's like, you can't miss. We've been through so much together. And I want to keep going through things together with you. I haven't been in love yet. And I want to go through that together with you.
And they're all like, yeah, we definitely want to see that. That's going to be hilarious. And
Yeah.
also...
And Joe's like, yeah, Blair's going to give you the worst advice possible.
Yeah, it's true. She will. Nat tells the story of her mother's junior high friend who would cheat on her with her on math. Up until last year, they were, when she moved out of the building, they were still cheating together with playing bridge.
I wrote down, Natalie tells an irrelevant story.
Yes. They all talk about the plans they'll have together. Blair will be back to crown the Harvest Queen, although she's probably going to win again since that's all that happens. They're invited to Langley for homecoming, and they're all going to go into the city to see the new Star Wars picture. Curiously, Return of the Jedi was released 3 weeks after this episode aired.
Wow, there you go.
Yeah. Tootie says she's going to get them all front row seats for opening night of all of her plays next year. And everyone's just silent, like, no, thanks.
Really? You don't want to come and see my 10th grade production of, Ruttigore or Brigadoon?
Those have both have nice mouth feels.
They do have nice mouth feels. I was in Ruttigore, and I was a stage manager on our high school production of Brigadoon, which is why they came so naturally to me.
Well, that's why you were hired for this podcast. It's your theater experience, so you could relate to Tootie.
Exactly. Me and Tootie, just two peas in a pod.
Yes. Natalie calls them all out, saying this is all bullshit. They're just pretending to be friends. But Blair, no, she's determined to stick together. And Joe's like, the way you do it is you just do it because it's important. Then Tootie's like, how?
I know.
She sobs. She flips out. She cries on the bed until everybody's comforted her. And when she feels secure that her friends are concerned and worried, she pops up, laughs, and proclaims herself to be the best actress that ever lived.
Because she's a fucking sociopath.
And we had to get one more glimpse of that in their bedroom before they demolished that set.
Yeah. And then why couldn't we have just stopped at, what we should do? We got to do it. We got to stick together and then group hug. We could have ended there. But no.
Nat's going to write a book.
We went on for like another 5 minutes.
Yep.
Mrs. Garrett leaves this scene and then comes back in.
Yeah. She had to travel all the way downstairs, get bad news, and then come back with a backup plan. So Natalie's going to write a book that's a cross between The Group and Peyton Place. The Group, written by Mary McCarthy's 1963 novel about 8 women who graduate from Vassar in 1933 in their lives.
Yeah.
Peyton Place is Grace Metalius's novel about 3 women. Am I pronouncing that right?
I don't know. I only know Peyton Place is the soap opera.
It's a novel about 3 women in a small New England town, their lives, including incest, murder, and sexual abuse. Which, when Joe hears Peyton Place, she's like, our lives are not that exciting.
Yeah. I mean, yes, they are.
Yeah.
But also the interesting thing about The Group is that it kind of ruined Mary McCarthy's life because it became the thing that she was most well known for. It was also made into a movie by Sidney Lumet in, I think, the 60s or the 70s.
Yeah, like 66, I think, like 3 years after the book came out.
Yeah.
Really quick.
But it was a big deal because, like, it very frankly spoke about orgasms and female orgasms in particular. So that is kind of like for Natalie to like whip that out, being like, it's gonna be about coming and it's gonna be about going. Like, it's like Natalie was like, I have all this work I'm working on. I'm thinking about it and breaking story, and it's like, Natalie, what is in that diary of yours? Jesus, what do you think is going on here?
Abortions, at the
Yeah.
very least.
Yeah.
Blair wants Candice Bergen to play her in the movie.
Good.
Tootie
Great.
will be playing herself, of course. She loudly tells everyone.
Yeah, because she's the greatest actress, and she's also going to direct it.
Yes, and Kim Fields directed a sunglasses commercial on The Real Housewives. Everyone agrees that Charles Bronson would play Joe.
Which, again, is, I suppose, a reference to his most famous films, the film franchise Death Wish, because she's so violent. But you know what? You know what? Fuck them. Charles Bronson, when at the peak of his career in the 70s, like right before this episode was shot, was the highest paid actor and the biggest star globally.
I don't think they were shitting on Charles Bronson. I think they were shitting on Nancy McKeon's appearance.
I thought it was the fact that she was just violent, not the fact that she has a mustache.
I thought it was just like, you'll look like Charles Bronson. That's what I got from it. I looked him up. I was like, yeah, I see it. They do not do Natalie.
No.
I thought it was conspicuous that they didn't assign her an actress. But Blair says once more she's happy not to have kitchen duty anymore. And if by magic Mrs. Garrett pops her head back in,
because
the industrial cleaning crew.
Mrs. Garrett was listening at the door with a fucking cup, being like, "Oh, sweet. Now we have them thinking about like what they're gonna miss. Now's the time. Now's the time to pounce. Now's the time to pounce. Free labor. Free labor." I doubt that Mrs. Garrett even called for another cleaning crew.
I agree, because the story is fishy. They got the dates mixed up and they're off to clean Sing Sing instead. So since the industrial cleaning crew that's going to clean a prison has to leave, that means Natalie and Tootie are doing it.
Yep.
Which is all the greatest hits at the end. Free labor that the school was about to pay for, now you do.
Mm-hmm.
Just do it. Apparently the reason Mrs. Garrett is requesting this is because Alex offered to help.
Yeah, and she's like, "Keep that bitch away from me. She can't help me. I can't stand it. Just take her away.
Have her killed, please.
But again,
never see her again."
See,
and we didn't. It was true. She said, "Make sure she never comes back." And
we
hear about her, but that's it. So the girls just grab their aprons. That's fine. Not even changing out of their silky graduation finery.
Yeah. I mean, I noticed that both Blair and Joe were wearing very fancy little skirts.
Yes. Well, they were offended that they weren't asked to help. Fuck you, Mrs. G. Make us clean. She's like, sure, if you want. It's your graduation day, but whatever. Free labor's free labor, and I love free labor. And they're thrilled. She doesn't tell them to change. None of them have that instinct. They're all going to wear their silky finery and clean Sing Sing level of dishes.
Yeah.
She's delighted. They go down, and but Blair first has a spooky premonition. She says, "Mrs. Garrett, why do I get the feeling we're going to be working for you forever?"
Yep.
Just 2 more businesses at the very least.
And that's it.
They head down, and we're done.
This episode could have been
10 minutes long.
Good and satisfying. They could have just showed us the graduation. At this point, I kind of feel like this show is a prank. That everyone involved in this is like, no, we're going to bring it up. We're never going to show you anything. We're like you. We're all stuck in the girls' room. We're never leaving. We're all stuck upstairs above Edna's edibles. We're all stuck in the cafeteria.
It's true.
The cafeteria of life. Yeah.
Yes, there it is. Nailed the landing. All right, well, that's all we have for you. That's all I have. Do you have any final thoughts?
Nope.
You ready for summer vacation?
I'm ready for summer vacation. I'm going to go to drama camp and hike my way to Hollywood to see you fully naked with your big fat Sharpie on saying, "Please take me, I'm free," or whatever.
For the taking, I think is what I said. All right. Well, anybody who wants, I'll be live streaming it on my Instagram, so check it out. All right. So until season 5, we wish you all the best summer of your lives. Get vaccinated and go back and watch season 1 and stuff, because those are classics now.
Mm-hmm. Fuck Roy.
Fuck Steve. I'll fuck Roy. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.